Okay, so yesterday we talked about simplifying square roots, and then we worked on multiplying square roots together. Now we're going to talk about dividing square roots. Now, something to understand, we cannot have a square root in the denominator. Okay, so if we ever see a square root in the denominator, first order of business is we have to get rid of it. Okay, ideas on how we can get rid of it. What can we multiply by to get rid of it?
Itself.
Itself. We're going to multiply by itself, square root of 3, but what I do to one, I have to do to the other. So I'm going to multiply by the square root of 3 on the top and the bottom. So I'm multiplying the denominator by itself, but what I do to one part, I have to do to the other. Okay? Because what's the square root of 3 divided by the square root of 3? 1. So am I changing the value at all? No. Okay? So now with multiplying fractions, you multiply straight across. If I multiply straight across, what do I get on the top? Square root of 15. And then on the bottom, what do I get? Square root of 9, which we learned you multiply by itself, it becomes what's on the inside. Remember, if you go through this step, that's fine. We get the square root of 9. Now simplify. Top is fine. Bottom turns to 3. Once you get to this step, you want to check still that the top is simplified. Is the top simplified? Square root of 15. It's not a perfect square. Do any of these go into it? Nope, so this is good. That's our answer. So to get rid of the square root in the bottom, you have to multiply by itself. So let's look at number 14. I have a radical in the bottom. How do I get rid of it? Multiply by what? Square root of 5. What do I do to one, I have to do to the other, top and bottom. Multiply across. What happens when I multiply a whole number times a radical? Can I combine them to be square root of 20? No. When I have a whole number times a radical, I just put them together. 4 times the square root of 5. And then on the bottom, I have a whole number. Remember, think we have a 1 in front of here, so we have 4 times 1 is 4. And then we have the square root of 5. Square root of 5 times square root of 5? Square root of 25. Okay. So now we want to simplify. What's 4 square root of 5? Can I simplify that? Nope. So the top will stay. Bottom, what's the square root of 25? 5. 4 times 5 is 20. Now check, can I simplify at all? Is the radical okay? The radical's fine. What about the whole numbers?
Oh, they're not in simplest.
They're not in simplest form. How can I, what number goes into both of those?
2.
2 and 4. How many times is 4 going to 4? 1. How many times is 4 going to 20? 5. So my final answer is square root of 5 over 5. $15, what's wrong with it?
Oh, it's by itself.
Square root's in the bottom, so how do I get rid of it? Multiply by itself on the bottom and the top. Okay, multiply straight across, what do I get on the top? Yep, 3 square root of 3, and then the bottom, square root of 9. We still have a radical in the bottom, but it's a perfect square. So the top, can I do anything with the top? Nope. So I have 3 square root of 3. Bottom turns to 3. Can I simplify anything else? Yes, what? Yep, 3's can cancel each other out, so I'm left with, yep, square root of 3. 16. Okay, what's wrong with it?
Square root on the bottom.
Square root on the bottom. What do I do with it? Yep. times it by itself on the top and the bottom. Now just multiply straight across. What do I get on the top? Square root of 12, good. What do I get on the bottom?
5 to the square root of 36.
5 times the square root of 36, good. Top, what can I do with the top?
You can divide or something. Take square root.
Yep, let's keep it for now. Let's worry about the bottom first. Let's get rid of the bottom. What's the square root of 36? 6, so 6 times 5? 30. Now let's worry about the top. What's wrong with the top? I can still simplify. So do what you normally do. Is it a perfect square? No. So make your good and your bad. We still have 30 on the bottom. What's a perfect square that goes into 12? 4, and the leftovers are 3. Okay? What's the square root of 4? 2. What do I do with the 3? Keep it. And then on the bottom I still have 30. Are we done?
No.
No, there's one more thing we can do. What is it? Simplify. How many times is 2 going to 2? 1. 2 goes to the 30. 15 times. So our final answer is
1 square root times the square root of 3 over 15.
square root of 3 over 15. Okay, I want to show you something that wasn't on here. If I had the square root of 10 divided by the square root of 5.
Square root of 2.
Right, I can simplify that. They're both radicals, so I can divide them. Square root of 10 divided by the square root of 5 is square root of 2. But up here, can I divide those two? No, because why?
The
They're not
bigger
both,
numbers on bottom.
What were you going to say?
they're not both the same square root.
Right. One's a square root, one's not. So I can't do anything with them. That's like over here when we multiplied a whole number times a radical. We couldn't combine them. We had to keep them separate. Okay, so that's the same thing when you're dividing them. You have to keep them separate. Questions? Okay.
We're such rebels.
Pick either 18 or 20.
20.
20. Okay. What's wrong with this one?
There's an addition.
There's 2, and it's split up by addition. Thoughts?
So maybe we can add them. But no, multiply them. Can't you do this?
So you know we want to get rid of them, right?
Yeah.
So what did we do on the ones up top?
We multiplied it by itself.
Multiplied it by itself.
Or just do that twice.
We are going to multiply it by itself, but there's one thing we have to do. We're going to multiply it by itself, but instead of addition, it has to be subtraction. It's called multiplying by the conjugate. The conjugate, all that means is we're just doing the opposite signs. Okay? So what we do on the bottom, we have to do to the top. So multiplying by the conjugate. So on the top, we have 4 times the square root of 5 minus the square root of 2. Let's just keep going with the top. Distribute that 4. What do I get when I distribute the 4?
Or is it just 4?
4 times the square root of 5.
Oh.
And then I have 4 times negative square root of 2. So right now the top is done. All right, the bottom, I'm going to come off to the side because we have square root of 5 plus the square root of 2 times square root of 5 minus the square root of 2. So we're going to take square root of 5 times the square root of 5. What's that? Square root of 25. Okay, and then we have square root of 5 times negative square root of 2.
That wouldn't work, would it?
You can't have
Oh no, but it's on the outside.
Right. So you can do square root of 5 times square root of 2 is square root of 10. Now go on the bottom. Square root of 2 times square root of 5. Square root of 10. And then we have square root of 2 times square root of 2. Square root of 4. Are we okay? Keep simplifying. What happens? Something should cancel out. What cancels out? The 10 and 10. Yep, those are gone. Okay, now simplify the rest. What's the square root of 25? 5. What's the square root of 4? 2. 5 minus 2? 3. That is my bottom. That's my denominator. What we just got is my denominator. So over here, we have 3. And then is there anything else I can simplify? Nope. What'd you say? Nope, because they're not both radicals. So here we are just done. Okay, so the only thing that changes when you have that addition is you multiply by the conjugate. Okay? Let's start it together. What are we going to multiply by? There you go. Square root of 3 minus the square root of 2. And so on the top, let's worry about the top first. Okay, I'm distributing this square root of 3 to both because we're multiplying. So what's the square root of 3 times square root of 3? 9. Square root of 9. Okay, and then I have square root of 3 times the square root of 2. Square root of 6. Okay, let's keep going on the top. What's the square root of 9? 3. Can I do anything with the square root of 6? Nope. So 3 minus the square root of 6. That's what I got on top. What do I have to do on the bottom? FOIL. So I have square root of 3 times the square root of 3. Square root of 9. Square root of 3 times square root of 2. Square root of 6. Square root of 2 times square root of 3. Square root of 6. Square root of 2 times square root of 2. Square root of 4. What's going to happen every single time? Those middle terms are going to cancel. So what's the square root of 9? 3. What's the square root of 4? 2. Keep going. We said the top was done. 3 minus square root of 2 over 3 minus 2. 1. And then what does that simplify to? Just the top, right? 3 minus the square root of 6.